Joining us today, Miss Jeannie Anderson Frazier and Miss Pamela Gibbs with the AnitaB.org Foundation. Good morning, ladies. How are y'all doing today?
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Let me kick this off. Exactly when you're talking about paving the way forward, exactly what is this program about?
Yeah, I love this question. It is really about increasing women's representation in tech. What we know is like 1 in 5 technologists are self-identifying women. And so whenever you've got 80% of the industry as, being a dominant male, it's that, the people who are building and designing and creating technology are not mirroring the communities and the people that it serves and interfaces with. And so we really have to solve that problem in order to be able to create equity across the entire tech ecosystem.
Well, how do you feel we've come as far as women in this industry, let's say from even just 20 years ago? What do you think the advances have been for women?
We have a lot of advances. We at AnitaB.org have a lot of initiatives that focus on that advancement. As you can see behind me, this room is going to be filled with incredible technologists from all over the world, roughly 30,000 attendees in person and online, in addition to the upwards of 200 companies from all over the industries, finance, tech, government, and so on and so forth. And so the support is growing. Our organization continues to push those efforts forward. And though we have a long way to go, we still are moving forward. So,
Would we agree or say that you're working for the end product, more diversity, more females in certain fields, the technical industries? Shouldn't we go back and is the Anita B or Foundation doing anything we've been educating kids the same way since the Industrial Revolution. 40 people in a classroom, somebody up front talking. We see in the numbers that women and sometimes minorities are not encouraged to go into those technical fields, to have a strong science or math background. What are we doing on that end? I think that's where the genesis of this solving this problem is how we educate that next generation.
Yeah, well, I mean, you touch on something that's really important, right? Like whenever you add in the different intersections of race, ethnicity, geography, and all these other demographics, the cards get stacked against you really heavily. And so I agree with you. It does start in education and changing how we frame education. Our CEO actually designed computer science for all.
Yes.
And so she has a long track record in this space. But inspiring young girls to be able to get involved in tech is not enough. If whenever they make their way into the industry, we're actively working against them with bad policies and bad cultures. And so we also have to create environments that will actually meet women where they are and find alternative pathways in, because as you mentioned, the kind of like a teacher talking to you method does not always work. We need some practical stuff. And then, how do we retain them, create professional development, social collateral? And that's what we do here at Grace Hopper.
And with this, tell the folks just a little bit about the Grace Hopper event. What does this entail? And tell us about what's happening there today.
It is a celebration of women and non-binary technologists. As I said before, there are 30,000 attendees coming from all over the world, joining us in person and online. And we have companies, big names in tech, big Fortune 500 companies here, big names in government, looking to support and further that advancement and presence of women in technology. So this is one of the premier events that we host every year, in addition to all of the other initiatives that we have throughout. So, yeah.
Just out of curiosity, why do you think women have fell so far behind in the technology field?
Why have they fallen behind? It is structural. If you do not see yourself in the places that technology is being built, if you're not hearing your stories, if the laws are not made so that you can be a participant, if the schools are not created for safe havens where that you can learn, then these continue to be a barrier and a hindrance in your presence. And there are just so many things that add on top of one another to create the gaps that we see now. Jenny was talking about it.
What are some of the ways that, we're talking about inspiring young girls. What are some of the ways that this organization does do that to inspire the younger generation, especially the females, of course, to think in ways that maybe they haven't thought before?
I love this question. I mean, Pamela said it, like telling your story. And so we have so many incredible stories. A lot of our staff even have these really inspiring origin stories. My personal story, like I come from an Appalachian family with deep generational roots and poverty. And a tech career gave me economic mobility and connectedness that I could have only ever dreamed of. And so being able to amplify stories like mine and put these stories out into the world, showing young girls that, hey, there are women like you, there are people like you with interests like yours, is like the first step, right? But then being able to continue to give them mentorship and guidance and inspiration along the way. And not just saying, hey, here's how I did it, but specifically for you and your situation with your different intersections, here's how you can do it too.
Yes.
And then having champions, not just women, but also male allies to be able to advance them and evangelize them whenever they're not in the rooms. I mean, it really is this, there's a lot of stuff that has to be done, and it really starts with an individual in a lot of ways.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, and in that, I want to pony on that, not just what the Anita B. org is doing or this organization is doing. What can I do? What can I do that's actionable? Where do I stand, and what's my role in this push for diversity?
Be an ally.
That's right.
That is the simplest, most powerful thing that you can do. Support initiatives that we have at AnitaB.org, and amplify the women and non-binary technologists that you know. Be a support to them, acknowledge them. That is so incredibly important. In amplifying and increasing the number of representation of women and non-binary technologists within this field.
Yeah, and don't give up. Don't stop fighting.
Yes.
Progress is in peril.
Please.
So like, just keep it up. Just keep going even whenever it gets really, really hard, because it will. It will.
That's it. Well, the Paving the Way Forward, a spotlight on equity and diversity and inclusion in tech. 28% of all technologists are women. 93% of women technologists have experienced some sort of discrimination in this field. It's roughly less than 5% of the Black, Latinx, Native American, Pacific Islander women. This organization, AnitaB.org, is changing that. I want to thank I want to thank Miss Jenny Anderson Frazier and Dr. Pamela Gibbs for being with us. If you want more information, go to AnitaB.org. Ladies, thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you so
much for having us.
Wonderful.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
We'll take a quick break. We're back with more chat right here on Newsday Amarillo and News Channel 10-2.